Please welcome Karan.
Thank you very much, Madam Toastmaster.
Good evening. First of all, I would like to thank We the Speakers Toastmasters for hosting this press conference tonight, and also to the Philadelphia Inquirer for providing such a fine venue. What I'd like to do tonight is to go over the recently concluded petition drive to get Henry Haller, my running mate, and I on the ballot. What I'd like to do is talk a little bit of the history of the campaign to give you some context for where we came from, then talk about the petition drive itself and the results of that, and then some forward statements looking where do we go from here. Sound good? Good. Let's start at the beginning. Back in October, I had no idea that I was going to be running for governor. Our state party was informed that Governor Corbett had done a poll for himself. And he found that if there was a libertarian in the race in 2014, he would lose. But if there wasn't, he stood a good chance of winning. Well, I saw an opportunity there for some political capital. So what I did is asked him if he would support the Voters' Choice Act, Senate Bill 195. Because, I don't know if you're aware of it, this year I needed to collect 16,639 signatures, while Mr. Corbett and Mr. Wolf only needed 2,000. But the Voters' Choice Act would level out that playing field and make life easy. So I thought, here's a good chance. I went to our prime sponsor, Senator Mike Fulmer, and I said, Mike, tell Corbett I will not run in 2014 if he gets that bill passed. Senator Fulmer was ecstatic. He says, I think this could work. So he went off to see Governor Corbett, asked the question. Governor said, let me think about it. 2 weeks later, he came back and said, nah, forget it. 2 days later, I announced my intent to seek the Libertarian Party nomination. If that's the way he wants it, that's the way he's going to get it. Starting from that point, it was rough. You can't start a campaign from zero and accelerate that quickly. So in the beginning, it turned out I was everything. I was my own treasurer, my own campaign manager, my own graphic designer, my own fundraiser, my own media person, my own webmaster, my own everything. Now, I did get Paul Rizzo from Northampton County to come on as campaign manager for a while. So we got going. During that time, I traveled the state, visited all the libertarians saying, nominate me as your candidate. Plus, more importantly, I recruited over 30 candidates to run for various local offices. We were all set. Come to nomination, end of February, I was nominated unanimously. First time I've ever seen that happen in Pennsylvania Libertarian Party history. So the party was behind me. At that point, though, came that big wall we had to climb, those 16,639 signatures. The idea was to get them all on one day, primary day, because as people are coming out of the polls, you can ask them, would you please support democracy in your neighborhood? Sign a petition to get candidates on the ballot. We did this in 2002, and it netted over 11,000 signatures in one day. This year, high hopes going into the petition drive to primary day. I can describe the results in one word. It was a bust. Two things conspired against that big day. First one was an incredibly low turnout. It was down in the teens in some places, 20% range. So that really suppressed everything. Second one is that the volunteers did not quite rally to the cause. A couple weeks before primary day, I sent out over 600 petitions to over 600 card-carrying Libertarian Party members, Pennsylvania Libertarians. Some that went out on primary day, most of them did not. So when all was said and done, we had less than 1,000 signatures on primary day. It's all right, we can handle this. What we did next is we said, let's turn to the paid petitioners. We did this in 2002, and it was very successful. So I sent out a fundraiser in June to over 4,000 Pennsylvania Libertarians. I can describe the results of that fundraiser in one word. It was a bust. Raised about $2,000. We needed about $30,000 in order to fund the petition drive. When I'd done this back in 2002, I wound up raising over $70,000. So there was the situation. Not enough money to pay the pay folk, not enough time for the petition, for the volunteer petitioners, because we had only 4 or 5 weeks left. We would have to collect 1,000 signatures every day, day after day, in order to make that deadline. Well, needless to say, come August 1st, the deadline, we didn't make it. We had fewer than 10,000 signatures. And consider to be a court challenge. The Pennsylvania Constitution says all elections shall be equal. But when one person needs 2,000 signatures and another person needs 16,639, I would hardly call that equal. But I was advised against it by my own attorney, Oliver Hall, who I'm currently plaintiff on a lawsuit that he has filed, and that was doing very well. Also by Paul Rossi, our state party attorney. He advised me against it, and the one that really pushed me over the edge was Richard Winger, the national ballot access expert, editor of Ballot Access News. All of them were afraid of the same thing, that I might wind up establishing bad precedent. So rather than cause trouble, I stood aside. So what went wrong? Well, to start off with, I got that late start. I started in November. In 2002 when I ran, I started in 1999. I had 3 years to get the campaign off the ground. It's pretty tough to do it in 3 months, because that's the amount of time I had between announcing and the convention. Second thing was there was nobody in charge of the petition drive. No one is in charge of getting signatures. So when you don't have a leader, what happens? It just meanders around. I did what I could, getting petitions into the hands of hundreds and hundreds of party members, but without that person on top making sure everything is being coordinated, wasn't going to happen. I did that in 2002, and it took up all my time. Now, as a governor candidate, I've been traveling the state since I announced, thousands of miles already. I've done dozens and dozens of appearances. I didn't have time to run the petition drive. Another problem was that it's tough economic times. People just don't have so much money as they did back in 2002. And probably one of the biggest problems is that I did not have a campaign manager for most of the campaign. Paul Rizzo was around for maybe a month or so, but then he got a job, and family always comes first. So that's what happened, where we were, where we went to, and how it ended up. So where do we go from here? Simple enough. I'm not giving up. I'm going to run as a write-in candidate. They can keep me off the ballot, but they can't stop me from being a gubernatorial candidate. I still have more things lined up, more appearances lined up, more presentations to do, more press releases coming out. I put out 2 in the last week, and more are going to come. Because I owe it to the taxpayers of Pennsylvania to be out there running. I owe it to the Libertarian Party to champion their cause. And I owe it to myself just to show Governor Corbett that he can't slow me down. And I will continue to do the job that I was nominated to do. Thank you very much for your attention. I'll take questions on any subject. Yes?
I have one. You just said that you owe it to the Libertarian Party members to continue this fight, but earlier in your release, sir, you brought up what some may know is to be an age-old problem with the Libertarian Party of Pennsylvania, I suspect other state parties as well, where when it comes down to actually doing something, in this case, handing out petitions, getting ballot access signatures, or donating funds, the party membership frequently come up short. Are you seeing this? In other words, what do you believe you owe to party members if they are not willing in large number or sufficient number to help you out?
Well, if you look at the membership numbers, we have 600 some membership right now, but there are over 45,000 registered libertarians in the state. Am I going to penalize those 45,000 for the actions of a few hundred? And I'm also doing it for myself and for my family. There's a lot of people who deserve to have an alternative voice heard. One of lower taxes, one of more personal freedom with personal responsibility. But I have done my best. And you know, it's interesting, the people who responded the most were the old guard. People who've been around for 10, 15 years, like you. Richard Schwartz helped out with the petition drive. Who else? Other people. Foz collected signatures. Steve went out there, he collected hundreds of signatures, as a matter of fact. So we had a lot of help. There were a lot of people, all the old guard types. Some of the new ones were very good too, especially the younger college age kids. They taught me how to do Facebook, things like that. But it is a problem motivating people. That's why I need to start earlier. Yes, David?
Did the Libertarian Party of Pennsylvania manage to get any candidates on the ballot?
They did. They got 3 candidates on the ballot. Betsy Summers up in Luzerne County, Wilkes-Barre, she's running for state representative. And there were 2 others whose names, John Bird, right, from Schuylkill County. And I recruited him. I'm proud of that.
And the guys from Center County.
Oh, yes, Charlie Martin,
Oh, wow.
son of Tom Martin.
Yeah, yeah,
Remember
yeah.
Tom Martin?
Yeah, yeah.
Gentleman who flipped in a canoe with me on Lake Erie. So we do have 3. Of the 30, all but 5 fell by the wayside. And 2 of them at the end, they just didn't get enough signatures. Any other questions?
Yes, could you elaborate a little bit more about the precedent you would have set by suing for the equal rights to?
Well, it would depend upon how I would come at it. And the way I was going to come at it was to just quote the Pennsylvania Constitution. It says, all elections shall be equal. That's Article 1, Section 5. But Article 1, Section 25 says all of Article 1 is removed from the power of government forever. So it's not something that they can change arbitrarily. But that exact issue has been decided in the past. And the courts have said, oh no, they can make it unequal. It's equal if you're a Republican, it's equal for all Republicans. Oh, it's equal for all Democrats. And if you became a Republican or the Libertarian Party became a major party, then it'd be equal for you too. So they looked at the law and said, it set uneven equal standards. Now, if I went in there and tried to do that, it may be that I could set precedent in odd directions. For example, I could submit the signatures and say, well, there's exactly 2,000. Does somebody else not get a challenge period? They may say, oh no, somebody always has a challenge period. They may extend the challenge period, which would be bad for us. And who knows what else they can say. Judges get very, very unusual. The last time that a judge actually legislated from the bench, the law used to read that if we got ourselves qualified, we had to get all our signatures from libertarians. We didn't have enough libertarians in the state at the time to get enough signatures. So we'd go on the ballot and then off the ballot, on the ballot, off the ballot. And the judge says, no, no, that's wrong. Instead, what we're going to do is you got to get, and she thought, oh, 2% of the highest vote getter in the prior race for that district. And she's just made that up. Now that's the law we're suffering under now. Because that 16,639 number is 2% of the largest vote getter in the election last year. So that's what's killing us. And she just did it from the bench. So anytime you walk into court, the initiation of courts fraught with peril. So I wasn't going to do it. Plus it costs money. Any other questions?
I'll ask a real brief one, I know we're almost out of time. Being that your campaign some years prior was rather successful, I remember the television debates and such, and this time hasn't been as successful, I'm wondering when 4 years hence comes around, if you're going to entertain the thought of running again, or is this sort of the clincher that says it's not worth it?
Well, first of all, I would challenge your statement, because this campaign has been more successful at the same points in time as the prior campaign. Because I have already been on television several times. I've already been on radio many times. I have already been invited to the NAACP debate in October. PCN has already invited me to their debate in September. I imagine both of those are going to be withdrawn based upon the fact that I'm not on the ballot. But last time, it took until after August 1st before any of that kind of stuff happened. So in terms of attention, in terms of support, well, not in terms of monetary support, but in terms of support by the public, it's been a better campaign. So that's the first half. The second half of your question is, would I consider doing it again? Well, if I'm going to be running in 2018, which would be the next governor race, this would be the perfect time to start, wouldn't it?
Yes.
I already have the groundwork laid, I already have pieces there, I've already got people out there, I've already got literature. I would say that I haven't talked to my wife yet.
Good answer.
Personally, I have no objection to give it another shot.
All right, thank you, sir.
Okay, all right, well, thank you very much for your time and attention. Remember, if it is to be, it is up to us. Thank you. Madam Toastmaster.